But one of the coalition senators who'll be arguing strongly in favour of the tax cut plan is Upper House Senator James McGrath. The Queensland senator is on the backbench, which means he's got a bit more licence to pursue issues that are not on the government's agenda. One of them's nuclear power and the other to do with my employer, the ABC. He thinks its headquarters should be moved out of the city. To explain, I caught up with him a little earlier from our centrally located Brisbane studios. James McGrath, thank you for joining us.
It's good to be here.
Are you just being deliberately provocative or mischievous here in calling for the ABC to be decentralised?
No, not at all. I'm speaking as someone who is a fan of the ABC, but wants the ABC to return to the ABC we all love. And I've got a three-point plan to help that happen. And the first point of that plan is to have the headquarters in Melbourne, Sydney and Brisbane sold, and for those headquarters then to shift to the outer suburbs or the regions. The second point of the plan is for all ABC jobs to be advertised externally. And the third point is for a full review of the ABC Charter.
So what problem here are you trying to solve with this three-point plan?
Well, one of the perceptions about the ABC is that it sadly is not representative of all Australians, and that it leans towards the left. As a senator for Queensland, I do a ton of travel around my state. Indeed, I was in Kingaroy last night, and one of the concerns is that the ABC does lean towards the left. I'm not asking for the ABC to lean towards the right. I'm asking for the ABC to be balanced and fair and accurate in its news reporting.
How would moving the headquarters, though, redress that perception? I mean, say in Brisbane, you move those headquarters to Toowoomba. Wouldn't people then in Townsville say that the ABC is not properly representing them because the headquarters is now in Toowoomba? Like, isn't it sort of a circular argument?
No, what it is it's part of a three-point plan. So each part should work with the other part. I think it's important to get the ABC away from the inner city out into the outer suburbs or any part of Queensland, so that it's sort of closer to the people that it represents as a diverse media organisation.
During parliamentary hearings, the ABC has been asked about the cost of moving headquarters out of the city, and the ABC's made it pretty clear it would be prohibitory. It would cost millions of dollars basically to move all of the infrastructure that's in place, the studios, the satellite dishes, the fibres between them. So in the age of efficiency dividends, how could you justify such a move?
Well, the ABC is a media organisation. It's not a real estate company. The properties in Melbourne, Sydney and Brisbane are worth almost $500 million, I think $426 million, according to answers provided by the ABC to those estimates. That money, in my view, should be used to help retire part of the national debt. And whatever is needed to help the ABC shift, that can be taken up as part of that.
But it's not just the ABC that has its headquarters usually in major cities. That's where our parliaments are, our police headquarters, our courts. Indeed, many of the Nationals' headquarters, the Liberal Party's headquarters are in capital cities. So why is it the ABC specifically that should be moving to the regions? Should you also look at your own party's headquarters to better represent the people who vote for you?
Well, part of the issue is the perception about the ABC about leaning towards the left, and so it's part of my three-point plan. In terms of my party, we just won 23 out of 30 seats here in Queensland, and 3 out of the 6 senators. And we have senators like Matt Canavan, myself, and the 3 new senators and Amanda Stoker who are coming in, who spend our life on the road out listening to people. And one of the concerns that comes up is about how traditional viewers, traditional supporters of the ABC are drifting away because of this perceived bias.
And just quickly, have you floated this idea with the Prime Minister or indeed the Communications Minister?
My plan is to write to both the Communications Minister and Ita Buttrose as chair of the ABC, putting the three-point plan to them and asking them to assess it and to either rule it in or rule it out.
All right, now moving on to another interest of yours, and that's nuclear power. You're leading a parliamentary push to at least start exploring the idea of nuclear power in Australia. What is it that you're hoping to achieve?
Well, what Keith Pitt, the member for Hinkler, and I are proposing is the Senate, through one of its committees, conduct an inquiry into nuclear power to see whether it is a viable source of energy for Australia.
realistically, it would take sort of at least a decade for such a power plant to get up and running. It would need bipartisan support in Parliament. How are you going to sort of get that happening?
Well, through having a parliamentary inquiry. I think one of the things that's missing in the energy debate in Australia is sometimes a level of maturity. And what Keith and I are proposing is that the nuclear energy could be a viable option. But there are a lot of people shouting on the sidelines who are running scare campaigns who don't want us to assess nuclear energy. And I think it's been some time. I think it's 12 years since the last serious look into nuclear energy. I'm told that the technology has improved since then, and I think we can have an adult conversation about whether nuclear energy can be a viable part of Australia's energy mix. When you consider that Australia is economically and politically stable, we've got a third of the world's uranium, and we are also geographically in the middle of a tectonic plate.
All right, James McGrath, just before I let you go, you once worked for the man who's on track to become the next Prime Minister of the UK, of course, Boris Johnson. If he does indeed win the leadership of the Conservative Party, what kind of Prime Minister do you think he'll be? And do you think he'll be able to negotiate a Brexit deal, given the two Prime Ministers before him have failed?
Oh, the interesting thing about Europe, and I'll come to Boris in a moment, is that the issue of Europe has effectively destroyed the last, I think, 3 or 4 British Prime Ministers. It effectively destroyed Maggie Thatcher, John Major, David Cameron, and now Theresa May. Europe is the Tories' kryptonite in a way. And I think with Boris, you've got someone who is just full of the joy of life. This guy is just, you want to be around him. He's funny, he's intelligent, he knows what he stands for, and I think for him being Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, and I'm going to be blunt, I'll probably get in trouble for it, I'm on Team Boris. I think Boris is going to be great as Prime Minister because of that joy of life, the joy of living. You want your politicians to be happy people, not miserable, knuckle-dragging scoundrels. We want people to want to see the best in people. And he's someone who knows what he stands for when it comes to Europe. He's been very strong about this, that if a deal is not negotiated, there is going to be a hard Brexit. And I think Europe need to understand that with Boris, they've got someone who is going to become Prime Minister, and come hell or high water, the United Kingdom is going to leave Europe, and whether they leave on good terms or bad terms, they're going to leave with Boris as Prime Minister.
All right, James McGrath, that's all we have time for. Thanks for joining us.
Anytime. Cheers. Thank you.